Good afternoon. I am making this video with a distinct lack of my usual, pep and energy and fun because something very critically important to understand, for everyone to understand, has happened over the weekend in Canada, in British Columbia, which is our westernmost province, right above Washington State. And I want to address this in such manner as I am capable of doing. Um, I want to say that right off the hop, I do provide a content warning for this. There's going to be some very bad content in this. There's really no other way of putting this. I can't find the right words to say about any of this. And all morning I've been struggling with myself about whether I should make this video, whether I even have the right to make this video. But my whole struggle with that all has to do with, quite frankly, with my complexion, not to do with where my heart lies or where my thought process lies. If I get emotional throughout this video, no, I don't apologize because it's extraordinarily important for people to feel what has gone on, not just to know the bare solid facts. But I think it's very important for the people who are capable of speaking at all to speak and to let people know that there are hearts turning in the right direction, my heart among them, because I'm very new, okay, to advocacy. I'm very new to activism. And even though I am a newbie, I want to make my stance on such critical issues as I'm about to discuss absolutely clear so that there's no mistake that there are people who stand with the community in question here, and we will be getting to this, who are not part of that community, but who still want to help. In the words of my favorite philosophy professor from university, you are what you do and you are what you think. All right. I am not the color of my skin. I am what goes on inside my heart and inside my head. And that must transcend into action, which is exactly what I'm doing now. So, over the weekend in British Columbia, as I say, is our westernmost province right above Washington State, there were at a decommissioned residential school the bodies of 215 missing Indigenous children found on the grounds of this place. As I've said in previous videos, I will never say the term residential school without the quotation marks. These were not schools, okay? These were basically like cultural erasure facilities. Children were not brought to these places necessarily to learn, to receive an actual academic education. They were brought to these places, often very far from home, in order to be re educated and to be, quote, made white. I'm going to explain why that didn't happen, why that was not permitted to happen. But first, I want to touch on what these places actually did. When a child was brought to a residential school, as to my understanding, they were taught preliminary reading and writing in English or French, depending on where the place was, because Quebec, one of our central provinces, they speak French there pretty much exclusively. And New Brunswick is our singular bilingual province. They speak English and French there, pretty much on an even divide between the people. But when a child was brought to one of these places, they would have their hair cut, which in many Indigenous cultures, as far as I understand it, was considered a sacrilege, or still is considered a sacrilege. And they would have their very name taken from them. They would be separated from their family, from their siblings, not be allowed to see them or speak to them for years and years. And they would be, you know, taught Christianity, they would be taught to integrate into European culture, and to adapt to the European way in order to make colonialism much more easy. I would identify this process not only as ethnocide, which is the killing off, the erasure of culture and of background and of heritage and even of family lineage. I would also classify this as genocide because, according to the author Thomas King in his book, The Inconvenient Indian, and please read that, it's a very good read, there were approximately 50% of those children who went into these residential schools who did not come out again. They would die on the grounds of these places due to maltreatment, due to a lack of nutrition, due to general neglect, and children as young as 3 and 4 years old were horribly abused physically, sexually, mentally, emotionally, right? And just the full gambit of any way in which you could mistreat a human being basically was enacted in these places, as to my understanding. Okay. In the mainstream educational system in Canada, and as far as I know, in America, children are not educated about these atrocities. And I think it is extraordinarily important that we should be. I did not learn about the residential school system until a world religions class in 11th grade, so in high school, and even then we only had one unit on it. And the most that we ever did concerning this legacy was to watch a movie called Where the Spirit Lives. It's a good movie, okay? It's a horrible movie. It's extraordinarily sad, extraordinarily graphic. And as I say, you see the full gambit of what these children were put through in real life. But one of the actors actually attended the place where this movie was filmed. And he said of the actors who played the teachers, the priests, all the supposed caretakers of these children, um, the treatment that they exhibit, the attitudes that they exhibit are relatively accurate, except that they're too nice. They're too nice. And in this movie, you see a girl, you don't actually see this happen, it happens off screen, but it's heavily implied that this girl is being sexually abused. You also see on screen boys being physically abused. And the actor in question, actually, the one who made the statement about the characters being portrayed as being too nice, um, in the movie, he defends a younger boy from being beaten with a very large club, not even a stick, and he is, for his insurrection, he is arrested and taken away, and God only knows what would have happened to him in real life if that were a real occurrence. So, in British Columbia over the weekend, though, these 215 bodies of children were discovered on this site. And since that point, the flags on federal and I believe even provincial political buildings have been lowered to half mast. And in my own city, at St. Peter's Basilica, it's the largest church, as far as I'm aware, in my city. The protest, basically, the act of solidarity, basically, that has been carried on is that shoes of children have been left on the steps of the basilica in order to symbolize the lives of the children lost. Currently, I am wearing the closest thing to an orange shirt that I own. And orange is the color that represents solidarity with the Indigenous communities, plural, of Canada. I'm not sure whether that's a thing in America, but The shoes, the flags that half-mast, me wearing orange, these are all symbolic gestures, okay? It is important that we make symbolic gestures because symbols have been part of every human culture, every human religion from literally the dawn of time. Okay, you go back to the Neolithic age, you see drawings on cave walls of men hunting beasts in order, it was supposed to be a kind of voodoo. It was like you draw a picture on your wall of you slaying the beast, and then you'll have the capacity to bring the beast home to feed your family. You know, it goes back even that far. But though we have gotten more sophisticated about it in modern times, while symbols are important to show solidarity, they are not enough. All right, let me go back to that saying, you are what you do and you are what you think. Okay, I've quoted that several times on this channel. My favorite professor in university said that to me once, and I really like it. But so a symbolic gesture is only that. It's a gesture. It's not really doing anything. People can, and here I go getting emotional, people can wear orange. People can wear a black ribbon. I've seen a black ribbon on Google. I don't know if that just applies in Canada, to symbolize what happened over the weekend. I am sure, if it has not already happened, that Justin Trudeau, Canada's Prime Minister, I did not vote for him, I do not like him, will publicly apologize for what has been revealed about this residential school out in BC. My mother actually thinks that this is just the tip of the iceberg, and that with this finding, new investigations will be made in order to uncover the, you know, the lives and legacies of children who were kidnapped, whose parents were often bribed or coerced into sending their children to these places or even threatened. I am sure that Trudeau, with his sweet voice and his sweet lamb's face, will apologize in a very heartfelt manner. The reason why I didn't vote for this guy is because I think he's a filthy little yes man, and I think that he will say and do anything that will keep him looking good in the eyes of the public, okay? But the problem with that is that merely to say, as I am doing right now, and I am very well aware of this, this too is only a symbolic gesture. We are what we do, we are what we think. All I'm doing right now is talking. There is a document that has been given to me on Twitter. Thank you to the people who recommended it to me. Thank you, Jeremy Dutcher, for linking me directly to it. I love you. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada. So this is a document that basically outlines the manner in which reconciliation can and ought to be achieved, you know, how we ought to strive for it. And while I do come into this fight with a terrible sense of imposter syndrome, because look at me, I'm very white, but it doesn't have to do with who you are or what you look like. It actually has to do with how you think and how you choose to act. I may not have political clout, but I don't care. I have a voice, I have a mind, I have a heart, and I can feel with, not just for, but feel with other people. This is called empathy. To feel with is empathy. To feel for is sympathy. I prefer empathy. It's more active. I want to educate myself. Anyone living in Canada currently looking at this video, please go and look at the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and I will be reading it much more thoroughly myself because it's a long one, and I like that because it can teach me more. We have to turn our words and our thoughts into actions, though. The whole problem with modern media, with modern society even, is that we, as the comfortable majority, are made complacent with panem et circenses, Latin for bread and circuses. So ostensibly, we live comfortable lives of food and entertainment, while other people suffer. And I'm not okay with that. I will not sit for that in the most literal sense. All right? Get up, get on your feet, do something. And this is what I'm trying to do. But I need to educate myself much more highly than I have already been because, as I say, this is not addressed in the schools. This is not addressed in modern, you know, mainstream media, mainstream thought. And it's a damn shame and it's a crime because people have suffered for centuries under the colonial boot. I don't want to be another cause, either passive or active, of that suffering. So I will continue to educate myself. Even if you're not Canadian, I would tell you to read that document because it looks pretty important and it was given to me literally by my hero. Okay? I love this guy. I really do. And he's younger than me and he's so much better at this advocacy thing than I am. I can only try and I want to keep trying. And for as long as I try, I can keep the imposter syndrome at bay. And, this isn't about making me look good. This isn't about making me look, oh, how virtuous I am. Oh, how greatly I stand in solidarity with these people who I don't actually care about. Here's the thing, I do. I do, even though they're not, quote, me. You know, we belong to one another. This is my pantheism talking, but we belong to one another as much as we belong to the earth. We are meant to work for and be with one another. This is why I prefer empathy to sympathy, interdependence, as opposed to independence or dependence. And Western culture does not teach these things to us because it's all about rigid individualism and about conquering that which is outside of us. Nothing is outside of us. How can it be? Without other people, what is life? We have no life without the earth. We have no life without other people. Maybe that's just me being an extrovert talking. I don't know. I don't care. But you need others to survive. You need the planet in order to survive. And honestly, if you cannot stand with other people, even when they don't look like you, even when they don't believe or speak or think or act like you, why? Why can't you? Is it a lack of feeling? Is it a lack of education? And I would say that oftentimes, yes, it is. And there are things of which we want to be ignorant in order to keep our own sense of guilt at bay, our own sense of complacency at bay. The fact that we just sit and do nothing and allow other people to suffer around us while we remain comfortable. It's not enough. Sitting around and thinking about it and saying, I stand with you, that is not enough. All right? And this is why I want to educate myself because the smarter you get, the more widely read you are, the better equipped you are to keep that imposter syndrome at bay. If you are someone who wants to do something about this, do it. There's that whole saying from Nike, and y'all know I don't like capitalism, but just do it. Really, just do it. Okay? And I know that I'm just talking at a camera. I know that I'm just one person. I don't care. One person can do a lot. And, there are people working from within the Indigenous communities, plural, who are just one person on their own. But, it takes one person to start a movement. Look at Gandhi. Look at Martin Luther King. Look at Jesus, for heaven's sake. There are great people in history who have started things just on their own. And modern capitalism, modern culture makes us complacent in the belief that we can't do anything as individuals just on our own, that we need to look to the power structure in order for anything to happen. But what happens when we do that? Nothing happens when we do that. Nothing. And that's also why I am an intellectual anarchist. No, I do not advocate for going and burning shit down. Please don't. Sit down and read and educate yourself. So, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, number 1. Number 2, The Inconvenient Indian by Thomas King. That book is amazingly well written, and I really recommend it to anyone who is invested in this because people are angry, people are sad, and they have every right to be. And I'm not going to sit here in my white room with my white privilege and tell people how to feel or how to think. I'm just going to say that we are responsible as a human community for one another, and we need to act on that responsibility and not just sit around and feel bad. Guilt is the opposite of doing something. We need to do something. Read, educate yourself, talk to people in the communities, plural, who have knowledge of what really went on. Talk to people who really want to do something and then do something, please. So that's my video for today. Maybe tomorrow we will get back to my regularly scheduled content. But I have yet to actually read New Moon because over the weekend this happened and I've been struggling with my imposter syndrome ever since. But the thing is, if I don't do anything, then nothing's going to come out of this corner. And I have to do something. You know, this is hard, but it's also better than complacency. It's also better than sitting around with your mouth shut. If you have a heart, you know, that feels for other people and with other people, do something, because that's my heart and that's the direction I'm taking. And I'm not here to be a leader, you know, I can't really, but we are all leaders in our own right. Claim your leadership, claim your power, educate yourself, and do something. Thank you. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good day, and please read. All right. Mwah. Love y'all.